month were you born?
April.
You should have been born in August. Your parents would have been well advised to wait.
Really?
Do you use hot water in the shower?
Yes.
Stop using it.
Okay. I'm off hot water.
Kramer tells me that you are interested in an alternative to surgery.
Yes. Yes, I am.
Hey guys, I'm Randy Unger, and this is a very special edition of Unger the Radar, where we talk all things film. And right now I have with me actor, author, musician, and podcaster, Stephen Tobolowsky. Stephen, how's it going?
It's going very good considering we're near the end of the world.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, you got to keep a happy face.
That's right. That's right.
So I know that you're involved currently with New York Comic-Con's Metaverse. I was just hoping you can tell everyone your involvement with New York Comic-Con.
They invited the One Day at a Time cast and the producers and writers to be at a forum, and we had a great virtual. It is the end of the world. We had a virtual sit-down. A series of interviews, wonderful questions, wonderful conversation. I think because New York Comic-Con kind of believes in the show and the Metaverse believes in One Day at a Time, thank goodness, and wanted to be a platform for us. So it was a wonderful discussion, and I think when is it being broadcast? Is it?
The Metaverse?
Yes,
I'm not entirely sure. I think some of it's live. I'm not certain, but probably in the next few days or few weeks.
Fantastic. Yes. Yeah. It's the first time I've been involved with with Comic-Con in San Diego on the West Coast, but this is the first time I've been involved with a show that was invited to speak on the East Coast. So it's really kind of nice.
Nice. And obviously it's virtual. How are you getting on with this, this age of COVID?
It's pretty grisly. I read this article about 5 ways that COVID is affecting your brain, and I read it with horror because I had all 5. It said the first way is you dream you have COVID, and that happens all the time. Next, you think you have COVID all the time, and the problem with symptoms of COVID is that they're ordinary symptoms. Like, do you have a headache? Oh yeah, I must have COVID. Eyes watering. Of course I have COVID. So that's 2. Number 3 is you try to shelter in place in smaller places. Okay. So my wife and I, we shelter in place in this house, but we go to the back bedroom to feel like we have to shelter within our shelter.
So shelter within a shelter. I like that.
Number 4 is drinking excessively.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Come on.
Are you referring to alcohol, I'm assuming?
Yes, we are talking about alcohol. I went in for a doctor's appointment the other day, and the nurse said, do you drink alcohol? I mean, she actually, of course, we're all wearing these masks. Do you drink alcohol? I said, are you kidding? It's like we start early and often, but I've never had so much alcohol in my life as is this COVID. And then the last thing is that you yell and blame inanimate objects for your life. And I have yelled at my front door many times. It's not an inanimate object, but I called my thumb stupid. You stupid thumb. That is a sign that COVID.
Stephen, don't lose it now. Please don't lose it.
I'm here. But yeah, so COVID, it's been good for writing. So I've been writing, I've been recording here at home. My wife and I, we exercise here at home, and she's gone nuts, and now she started cooking. Okay. So she cooks sweet rolls in the morning, sourdough during the week. Okay. My diet consists of cinnamon rolls, homemade bread, and gin. And I have lost 15 pounds on this diet. I've lost 15 pounds. Now, whether I've lost these pounds in the right place or not, I don't know, but it's amazing.
Well, it's all the exercise. It balances everything out. So that's beautiful.
Yeah. I shot at Goldbergs last week,
Uh,
and first thing I shot in the pandemic, and I needed new pants. So I've done that show for 6 years, and I've always worn the same pair of pants for like 6 years. They have two pairs of pants, they alternate.
and don't
And
you wear the same underwear?
uh,
I listened to your podcast.
yes, I do have performance underwear that I have. It's been something that I've done since high school, that there are certain pairs of underwear that when you're on stage, you want to feel cool,
Yeah,
comfortable, and supported. And
right.
and so I wear these underwear whenever I have to perform. Not the same pair of underwear, because that
Right.
would be not
But
not
the same
cool.
type.
The same type of underwear for years, and it makes me feel like it's my uniform.
Right. That sounds more like a mental thing than a physical, like
It
a
definitely is a mental thing.
psychological warfare or something. I don't know.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of the podcast, the Tobolowsky files are great. Tell everyone about that and how that started. I know it started a while ago.
It's a ridiculous story that became one of the podcasts. Is that in 2008, I broke my neck riding on the horse on the side of an active volcano in Iceland.
Whoa.
Yeah, like
That's
what
such
was wrong?
that epic imagery right there. It's,
There's some bad decision making.
that too.
So in Iceland, the doctor told me I had maybe fractured a couple vertebrae in my neck. And so they put me in an Icelandic neck brace, and I came back to the United States 10 days later. And that's when my Los Angeles doctor told me I had a fatal injury,
Wow.
which is bad. I mean, like I do like to write, so I know words have a meaning. So it obviously wasn't fatal because I'm here.
Right.
But my neck was completely broken, 5 vertebrae, multiple breaks, and in the C4 is what we aficionados of the broken neck call it.
Right.
C4 was pulverized.
Oh my God.
So it was like a Christopher Reeve injury.
Right.
So I began writing these little stories. You can't do anything with a broken neck. So the only thing I could do is write. I began writing stories for my kids as kind of a legacy in case I had died on the mountain. Who
Okay.
Alice Nell Allen, who I proposed to when I was 5, and my first loves, heartbreaks, beginning to be an actor when I was doing Hansel and Gretel in the park as a child, and movie stories, obviously, television, Groundhog stories, things like this. And then a student at Harvard, David Chen, called me at home and said he wanted to start a podcast, and he heard of my storytelling. And he said, could I record some of your stories? So I said, well, actually, I'm beginning to write stories now. So we were beginning the podcast as strictly a tell-all kind of podcast about behind the scenes with movies, kind of like an Unger the Radar thing, kind of like that, kind of, the movie stories, all things movies, exactly.
Sure.
But the 4th episode, my mother had a heart attack in Texas, and I went back to see her, and she passed away the next morning. And so I just sat down and wrote a story of the day my mother died. And I called David up and I said, I have a podcast, but it has nothing to do with movies or show business. And David said, well, let's give her a try. Right. And at the end of that podcast, David said, Tobo, you write anything you want. And that episode, called The Alchemist, number 4 on the list, went all over the world. Okay. And I got so many letters, and that podcast episode turned on some NPR and PRI radio people, and they started playing the podcast all over at different stations all over the country. And then Simon & Schuster did 2 books based on these stories. So it was this legacy that I meant for my kids. And of course, the irony is my children have never listened to the podcast, nor have they read any of my books, the stories that feature them.
Well, there you go. So, actor, writer, podcaster, these are all really great forms of expression, creative output. It's pouring out of you. Do you have a favorite hat that you wear?
Well, it certainly is different at different times. Like I've found writing is my favorite. It is the thing I love the most. And so the pandemic has been good for me because I've been able to sit here uninterrupted. And even the planes, there aren't many planes in the quiet. And that's why the podcast, we have 16 new episodes and they drop every Monday morning, 7 a.m. Pacific time. A new episode will drop for the next 4 months.
Nice.
And it's at Tobolowskyfiles.com. But that is my favorite hat. But I got to tell you, acting has shaped me. Acting is an extraordinary thing, and I've loved it my entire life. And it's terrified me, and it's filled me with hope. And it, for example, in college, we began to do the works of Shakespeare and Chekhov and Ibsen and Eugene O'Neill, all these great writers. And they all have hope for desperate times. So you can go back into the dramatic literature, Groundhog Day is a perfect example of a movie of somebody who's in desperate times, Phil Connors. And here's a question for you.
Yes.
How many days do you think are in Groundhog Day?
So actually, when I was a kid, I had the VHS, and I had to keep pausing it and actually count, and I had a tally going. I think it was close to like 50, but I've heard that it could have been more like a couple of decades. That's what I heard.
Well,
some fan theories.
Yes. Harold Ramis told me personally, when we were at a charity event, I asked him this self-same question. And he said 10,000 years.
Okay. Yeah.
And I said, what? He says, because I'm a practicing Buddhist, and it takes 10,000 years, according to Buddhism, for the human soul to be perfected. And the story of Groundhog Day is the story of the perfection of Phil Connors, of a human soul.
Phil? Hey, Phil? Phil Connors? Phil Connors, I thought that was you.
Hi, how you doing? Thanks for watching.
Hey. Now, don't you tell me you don't remember me, because I sure as heck fire remember you.
Not a chance.
Ned! Ryerson! Needle-nosed Ned the Head. Come on, buddy. Case Western High. Ned Ryerson, I did the whistling belly button trick at the high school talent show. Bing! Ned Ryerson got the shingles real bad senior year, almost didn't graduate. Bing! Again! Ned Ryerson, I dated your sister Mary Pat a couple times till you told me not to anymore. Well?
Ned Ryerson?
Bing!
Bing! So did you turn pro with that belly button thing, Ned, or
No,
what?
Phil, I sell insurance.
What a shock.
Do you have life insurance? Because if you do, you could always use a little more. Am I right or am I right or am I right? Right.
Ned, I would love to stand here and talk with you, but I'm not going to. See you.
Hey, that's all right. I'll walk with you. Whenever I see an opportunity now, I charge it like a bull. Ned the Bull, that's me now. I got friends of mine who live and die by the actuarial tables, and I say, hey, it's all one big crapshoot anywho. Tell me, have you ever heard of single premium life? Because I think that really could be the ticket for you. Oh, God! It is so good to see you. What are you doing for dinner?
Something else. It's been great seeing you, Needlehead. Take care.
Watch out for that first step. It's a doozy.
It's such a beautiful story. It's so existential and philosophical, and it really raises so many topics, so much discussion about existence. But I'm curious, how often do you get stopped on the street for playing Ned Ryerson? How often does that happen?
Before the pandemic, about 3 times a day.
Real, yeah.
About 3 times a day. And not only would people go, they wouldn't just stop me on the street. They stop me on the street and go, Bing,
Yeah, right.
bing. Yeah. Has anyone ever said that to you before? And I go, yeah, like twice today so far. So that's a big one.
That's your legacy right there. I mean, your kids will know that. They don't care about the podcast or the books. It's Ned Ryerson.
Well, my kids would not watch. Now, this is another nice little side story behind the scenes under the radar. So my kids refused to watch Groundhog Day.
Huh.
They refused to watch Groundhog Day growing up because I was in it and because they knew it was going to be stupid and because they hear it just repeats over and over again. So anyway, my wife, Ann, got the kids into the back bedroom with the TV and they said, we won't sit here. Just you need to watch this movie because this is a really good movie your dad was in. Just watch it. So the two kids went in there, we closed the door, turned on Groundhog Day. Ann and I left and then we snuck up to the door and we put our ear to the door and we heard their laughter watching the movie.
Nice.
And it broke my heart and it fed my heart. It was one of the greatest moments of my life, hearing those kids laugh at Groundhog Day. And then at the end of the movie, they come out, their faces are all red because they've been laughing and they've been moved by the whole movie. And Annie, my wife, goes, well, how did you like it? And they go, yeah, it's okay. No, it's all right. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. Behind the scenes of Groundhog Day. And speaking of other classic roles of yours, you were actually in one of my all-time favorite movies, aside from Groundhog Day, 1992's Memoirs of an Invisible Man.
Oh, yeah.
I know it was, 28 years ago? But
Yes.
I just love that movie. I still watch it, and it makes me feel good. It's just a really positive film. It's adventurous. What was it like working on that film?
2 words, Sam Neill. Oh my gosh. Now, I always liked him as an actor. You know what? He's Aussie or something, and he was in Breaker Morant, but he was in those kind of Australian movies kind of thing.
I think New Zealand actually, but
New Zealand could be.
enough.
Yeah. Same neck of the woods.
Right.
And I'm not sure if he had become like a big mainstream star yet.
I think it was the year after with Jurassic Park.
Yes, definitely Jurassic Park made him the household name. To watch him work and to watch him do his scenes, I was amazed. And I remember, like I said, I always was a fan of this guy from his earlier films. But I went, Annie, when I went home, I said, this guy is out of the box, phenomenal in this movie. He is just great. And one of the hard things about shooting Memoirs of an Invisible Man was, at least my part, shot a lot at night. And what that means is when you're in a movie, you don't shoot at 9 o'clock or 8:30. You know, you're shooting at 3:30.
Right.
You're up all night shooting. So it throws you off and you have to kind of sleep all day, but you can't sleep all day. It's difficult. I mean, it was wonderful. I do have a silly story about it with doing the movie. And John Carpenter, such a great director and musician and composer.
Yep.
So anyway, we finished the movie and I had a weird schedule. I worked a couple weeks at the beginning, then I was off for about 3 weeks. Then they picked me up for some more time near the end of the shoot. And the shoot was about to wrap up and they had overpaid me. Overpaid me by $5,000.
Oh, wow.
Wow. So my wife, Ann, said, like, we have to give the money back. We have to call the office and give the money back because it isn't going to match up with our taxes. They're going to say they paid me this much and we have this much. And it's the honest thing to do.
Right.
So I called up the production office and I said, guys, I need to talk about my check, my check. And they go, well, Yes, yes. Well, you know who really is handling the books on that is Darlene. Why don't we put you through to Darlene and maybe you could talk to her? So I go through and I get this voicemail for Darlene.
Oh.
Darlene doesn't call me back. So I call back the next day and said, could I please speak to Darlene? Well, that's interesting. Darlene is gone now. She went to have oral surgery. She's getting a root canal. If you could call back at the beginning of next week. And I go, sure. So I call back the beginning of next week. Darlene is now on vacation, like 3 weeks. And I said, well, could someone else handle? Oh, no. Darlene is in charge of the finances of Memoirs of an Invisible Man. And I feel like they're trying to string me along. Now, the movie has stopped shooting.
Right.
I wait the 3 weeks. I come back. Darlene is in the office. I get a hold of her. Darlene, hi, Stephen Tobolowsky. Oh, yes. I heard that you had a problem with your checks. I'm sorry. We've closed the books on the film, and that's just the way it's going to be. And I said, well, Darlene, my problem was you guys overpaid me by $5,000.
Right.
Pause on the other end of the line. And then she says, well, sometimes you get the bear and sometimes the bear gets you.
Who's the bear in the situation?
The bear in the situation is the fact that they thought that they were artfully screwing me out of money. They thought the reason an actor is calling them about their check is that they were underpaid. So if we can just string him on until the books are officially closed, then there's nothing we can do about it in giving him more money. But as it turned out, that's the bear.
Okay.
But because I was overpaid, it was on them at that point.
So what happened to the money?
We spent it.
Okay,
good.
Nice
We
vacation.
couldn't give it back. Yeah, but I'm saying there's another behind the scenes story in terms of those accountants. Got to be careful about those people, man, because
those Warner Brothers accountants.
Yeah, they take and they give no quarter. You know, they are ruthless.
Wow. What was it like working with Chevy?
Oh, he was delightful, and I ended up working with him a couple of times. In fact, I think it was right after that I was doing the movie Hero, and Stephen Frears was the director, and I'd worked with Stephen Frears on the movie The Grifters. And Stephen Frears was saying, you just worked with Chevy Chase. And I go, yes, sir. He goes, well, what did you think of him as an actor? And I said, I think he's terrific. I mean, he is very improvisational. He's very kind of present in all the scenes, and he's present in every take. And I'm not saying I'm responsible for Chevy getting cast in the Stephen Frears movie after that when we did Hero. But I think he's always been kind of wonderful. What I learned a couple things about Chevy Chase during Invisible Man. One is that the guy was like an Olympic downhill skier. Like he's like, before he did Saturday Night Live and all that stuff, he was a real downhill skiing athlete.
I didn't know that.
A real athlete. And you could kind of tell when you meet him, he's like 6'5" or something like that. Yeah. And when we did Invisible Man, he was solid muscle. Yeah. And the second thing Chevy taught me is, he said, Stephen, when you do contracts for movies, see if you could get them to throw in the wardrobe.
Okay, to keep. Okay.
Sometimes sometimes they have all these suits that are tailored for whatever your character is, and say you would like throw in the wardrobe, and a lot of times they will. So I took his advice after that, and I got a whole bunch of great looking suits that don't fit me anymore. and I've except now, with my new weight loss.
There you go.
It could be good. Yeah, but I found Chevy very nice to work with.
That's great. I love to hear that about actors, and I love the sense of camaraderie and teamwork on a set. I think that's essential.
It's difficult, but it's difficult, but
Hmm.
it's wonderful when it happens. It's
Yeah.
just there's so much strain on the actor on the set with time and with pressure and with work. It's hard to get that whole family feeling going.
Yeah, and that's just pure luck when that happens.
And it shows. It shows on film, and when it happens, it's a delightful thing.
Great. So my show is very nostalgic. Obviously, we just spoke about a movie that's 28 years old. Now we're gonna go a little bit further back, back in your filmography. 1987, a film that is loved, but it's a cult classic. People love it. It's a Mel Brooks. It's just a phenomenon.
Don't move, you're dead. Stand up. Captain, we've got them.
Spectacular stunt, my friends, but all for naught. Turn around, please. Ah, what a pity. What a pity. So, Princess, you thought you could outwit the imperious forces? You idiots! These are not them. You've captured their stunt doubles! Search the area. Find them! Find them!
But you had such a painfully short part in it. Spaceballs. What was that experience like?
It was fantastic. It was the greatest gift in the world. At that point in time, I really wasn't getting any movie parts. I was an actor that was working my way up in theater in Los Angeles. And I was opening a play in Los Angeles. I think this is when we were doing, it was the second year at Los Angeles Theater Center, and I was working with Bill Pullman.
Okay.
In a Michel de Gelderode play called Barabbas. And I was playing Pontius Pilate, and the woman that would become my wife, Anne, was playing Mrs. Pontius Pilate, and Bill was playing the title role Barabbas. He had been cast in Spaceballs, and he invited Mel to come see the play. So Mel saw this huge monstrosity of a play. It was thrilling, violent, comedic, tragic, amazing, existential play.
Is there video of that?
I don't know. I'm sure Equity at that point always did. They're probably not videos you'd want to watch, but it was magnificent. Okay. And Bill was fantastic. But afterwards, Bill, we were in the lobby, and Bill brings Mel Brooks up to me. Wow. And he goes, Stephen, this is Mel. And I go, no introduction necessary. He goes, and Mel goes, well, there may be a part for you in this movie we're doing with Bill. Would you be interested in that? I go, yes, sir. Anything. And I'll even wash your car. Anything. He says, so come on over to my office over at the studio, and we'll put you through your paces and see how it's going to work. So I went to Mel's office, and he said, they gave me the lines for Captain of the Guard. And then I did it in his office, and then Mel directed me 3 or 4 different ways. He says, all right, you got the part. That's great. You've got the part. And I was thrilled. My first real movie part. And can you imagine, I could call my parents in Oak Cliff and say, Mom and Dad, I just got a movie part with Mel Brooks. And Mel, because out of all the people in Hollywood, my mother and father would know Mel Brooks, from the 2,000-year-old man, from everything. So they called me in to shoot my scene. As you said, it was very brief, and I was getting paid. Oh, this number comes up again. I was getting paid $1,000 to shoot the Captain of the Guard.
Like a 15-second, 20-second scene?
Yeah, but when you shoot it, it probably takes it, because you have to shoot it in both directions and different sizes. So it'll take, an hour, 2 hours to shoot. And also you had to have both the real cast running in, and you had to have the stunt double cast ready to go to swap places with them. So it took a little doing, but Monday I sat there and they didn't shoot the scene. So the AD, the assistant director, said, well, I guess you have to come back tomorrow. Came back Tuesday, didn't get to my scene. Wednesday, no. Thursday, no. And now I'm getting depressed because I'm thinking, like, am I going to be in this movie? And the AD sees me sitting there all frustrated. He says, well, you have to come back tomorrow. And I said, well, are we ever going to shoot this scene? And he goes, Stephen, you get paid whether we shoot the scene or not.
Right.
And I go, what? You mean I got $1,000 a day for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and now Friday? Right. So we shot it on Friday. I made $5,000
There's that
for
number
captain
again.
of the guard 4 of the days I didn't work. But that's when I thought, this is the career for me. If I can make money without working, that is great.
I may have to switch careers myself because that sounds very tempting.
Very tempting.
Did you get to keep the suit from that scene?
Oh, no. And you know, it looks much better on camera than when you put it on, it really looks like it's made with automobile upholstery.
Okay.
You know, it's
So obviously you have an illustrious career, film and TV. Do you have a favorite role? I mean, there's so many, but do you have one that sticks out that's a highlight?
Well, certainly Ned in Groundhog Day. I look at that. I think it's rare to be in a movie that's that good. You know, we didn't know it was going to be that good when we were shooting it. We thought it would be fine. But at that time, they were always shooting Bill Murray comedies, which is you give Bill no consequences, set him loose, and then it's mayhem and everybody laughs. But we had no idea the philosophical underpinnings that the movie would take on. Bill and I began shooting that street scene, and I think we ended up shooting 9 of them, 9 different scenes. Right. That very first day was the first shot up on the first day. And at the end of that first week was the beginning of a very large set piece scene. It's when Bill discovers he has no consequences. And in shooting that scene in the script, Bill spray paints his room at the inn. He chainsaws all the furniture in half. He goes into the shower and cuts a mohawk in his hair. And if you know anything about film, it's a very complicated scene to shoot because anything you paint, you have to unpaint. Anything you cut in half, you have to have doubles or repair or something for shooting in different angles to have everything match. You need a lot of stuff. It was being shot the first week, and it took 2.5 days to shoot. So first week, for people who don't know about movies, is a big week for the producers. Because this is when the studios are looking over everybody's shoulder to see how is our money being spent.
Okay.
How is, like when I did Mississippi Burning, right? I played the head of the Ku Klux Klan. Alan Parker shot all of the beatings, lynchings, murders, and rapes, and the churches blowing up and catching on fire the first week.
Wow.
And he said, like, I'm sending the footage back. The studios are going to see this, and they're going to go, we have got a movie here, right? And then he shot all the character scenes after that, all the Frances McDormand, Gene Hackman stuff, all the kind of quiet talking scenes.
So he got the big epic set pieces out of the way.
The violent stuff, all the things that were active and violent that'll make. So here we are the first week of Groundhog Day, and they're basically shooting one big set piece where Bill goes nuts, right? It's classic Bill Murray stuff.
Right.
And at the end of shooting that, Harold Ramis looked at the footage and threw it away. He threw it away, and he and Danny Rubin began rewriting. And he basically said to me later, we had to decide what movie we were shooting Are we shooting a movie that's just going to be slapstick in some sort of way? Or are we doing a serious, funny film about how we use our time on Earth? And what he changed, what that huge, and also remember that's 2.5 days of shooting, first week gone.
Right.
And Harold Ramis and Danny Rubin swapped it out for the way it is in the movie. Bill is in his bed at the end. He's writing notes in his notebook. He looks at a pencil that he's writing with. He breaks it in two. He puts one piece of the pencil on top of the clock radio, one piece of the pencil on the bedside table, split.
Right.
He goes to sleep. In the morning, we hear Sonny and Cher, and the theater audience laughs. Bill wakes up, turns over. The pencil is whole. And when I saw that with the full house, with the full audience, the first, second week of showing it in public showings, the audience gasped. And it was so much more effective than Bill going nuts and wild and crazy. There are plenty of other things. Bill with the groundhog in the truck.
Oh, of course.
He went wild, nuts, and crazy. And but Groundhog Day is certainly one of my favorite that I'll always remember shooting. That just a beautiful movie that turned out so well.
Oh yeah, it's going to live on.
Yeah,
for sure. For a long period of time, like the movie displays. So maybe another 10,000 years.
Maybe another 10,000 years.
So I'm curious. Obviously you have a very long career. You're a talented actor. What, in your opinion, makes a good actor?
Two answers to this question. There is the artistic answer, and that is I had a great acting teacher, Ed K. Martin, who a lot of people who listen to you may know of Ed or have even taken classes with him. Holly Hunter also had Ed K. Martin as a teacher at a different time in her life. Ed said, you only have to ask two questions to be an actor, whatever part you play. What is your greatest hope? What is your greatest fear? You answer those two questions and it creates a tightrope that every other question and action your character takes spins off of those two questions. What is your greatest hope? What is your greatest fear? That is the professional answer. The personal answer is, when you're a professional actor, is resilience. You hear people use the kind of cliche all the time, persistence. Persistence leads to success. Not necessarily. Persistence also leads to failure. Persistence means doing the same thing over and over and over again. Keep doing it. But if you're doing the wrong thing, you're going to end up with wrong results by being persistent. What you need is resilience. You need to be able to have a rebirth. If there's no way you could be in this business without getting your heart broken a few times. You have to find a way to pick yourself up and survive and reinvent yourself and move forward. And if you keep doing that long enough, then you end up later in your career lucky enough to work with like Norman Lear in like One Day at a Time, which is one of the absolute greatest television shows I think that's ever been made. But it's all been a matter of resilience that enabled me to get to that point.
So basically, adapting to a situation, adapting to the way things are, how your life is going, and kind of mold that into success. Just doing your very best, keep going, be strong, and hopefully success will follow.
There was a story that bypassed me. I've been shooting the Goldbergs. I played the principal on that show, Principal Paul, and I've done that for like about 6 years. And then I did the 2 years of Schooled, which was the spinoff of the Goldbergs. And on one of the shows this last season on Schooled, they had a young boy on the set. He was 17. His father was on the set, and they came up and they asked me what my advice was. Now, his son had no lines in the scene, but he had to high five one of the leads, and he was all nervous about doing it.
Mm.
And I used to give the advice you just gave,
Okay.
which is keep at it, do the best you can, keep your head,
Yeah.
do the best you can, keep at it, don't let disappointments overwhelm you and all that. And then I had kind of what they call a satori. A satori is when the curtain is pulled back and you see the world with different eyes because you missed something right in front of your face. And this is what I missed. The first job I got on television on a sitcom was the TV show Alice with Linda Lavin and Vic Tybeck, that show way back when.
Mm-hmm.
They called me up at home and they said, "Are you free today?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "Can you come in? We have a part that needs to be cast. It's of a rock and roll DJ like Wolfman Jack, but they're calling him Caveman Carl." Mindy Marin was the casting director. And I said, "Well, sure, Mindy. Yeah, I'll come in." And she says, "Read through the scene with Beth Howland, who was one of the regular cast members on that show. Okay. And if the producers and the directors give you a thumbs up, you go immediately into hair and makeup, immediately into costuming, and then we shoot it in front of a live audience."
Nice.
Like that day. So I went in, I ended up getting the part. We shot it in front of the audience that afternoon, and it was my first TV job. And here's the satori I had. Mindy Marin was casting the show. Before Alice, I had been called in to see Mindy Marin maybe 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
Never got a call back.
Oh, wow.
Never got a attaboy, never got, well, that was good. Nothing. I had failed. And as an actor, each one of those auditions was crushing.
Yeah.
To not hear anything, to go in and do it and hear nothing. You yell into the canyon and you don't hear an echo.
Right.
But Mindy did not call me in to read Caveman Carl when they were casting the show, right? For whatever reason, the guy they cast as Caveman Carl, either he got sick or hurt or they fired him or something went wrong and they needed a replacement right away. Uh-huh. They called me at home, not because of my successes, but because of my failures. Because of all the failed auditions, my failed auditions made enough impression on Mindy Marin to where they thought, we can give Stephen a shot. Now, if you're a young actor and you're starting out and you think, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work really hard and eventually I'm going to get those little parts and then they'll get bigger parts and bigger parts. But what would the world look like if you thought maybe you don't have to get the parts to succeed?
Right.
What if your failures are making an impression on people that you don't realize they're making an impression?
So you're
it changes.
Kind of flipping the perspective of things.
It changes your heart when you think like all of those things that you kicked yourself for, that, oh, I failed here, no callback, no callback. But you don't know if you're moving towards success or not with those failures. It completely changes your outlook.
Definitely need that for sure. That's wow. I love it. I love it. Stephen, you are a wise man, sir. And I'm curious, are there any other projects you're currently working on that you can talk about?
Well, the one thing is I got my fingers crossed for One Day at a Time on CBS. That's been the project of my life kind of with the podcast for the last 4 years. It's a brilliant show. It's a beautiful show. CBS Monday night, 9:00 Eastern and Pacific, 8:00 Central. 2 shows back to back, and everybody watch this show in October, and maybe we'll get another chance to do new shows at the beginning of the year. The other thing this will be interesting. I just got a movie yesterday.
Oh, great.
I just got a movie yesterday. It's a comedy, and it's written at the time of COVID. It's a COVID-oriented comedy. I play a therapist. My wife is a therapist, and we're always on our computers talking to patients. So there's patient interaction, safe distancing, whatever.
Mhm.
It's a funny script, but I am going into it more interested as, is this going to be the future of this business?
Right.
Because someone asked me, an interviewer asked me last week, what could get you back to working? Well, what got me back was this offer, because it's going to pay for my health insurance. That's what got me back. But here's the question I throw back. What's going to get you back to the movie theaters?
Yeah. It's going to be a
If
while.
you're not going to go to the movie theater, they're going to stop making movies. And then we're going to talk about all we're going to make is COVID safe movies of the week for
Right.
Netflix and Hulu and all those. So I don't know where we're at. So it
Yeah.
interests me to see what our future is going to be.
Yeah. Indeed. The future is unknown, but hopefully we can make it a good one.
Yeah,
So Stephen, I want to thank you so much for your time tonight. This was amazing.
my pleasure.
You're so great. I love, so many of your movies. Everybody out there loves, from Groundhog Day to Spaceballs to Memoirs. You've been great, and you're continuing to do so. So I want to thank you so much for your time tonight.
Well, thank you so much for having me on.
Anytime. Thank you. And guys, watching at home and on your devices, please subscribe to Unger the Radar. And I've been your host, Randy Unger. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.